I'll do the same thing in the next one. First off, I'm going to state that this is actually, in general form, going to be 3x squared plus 11x plus 10 is equal to 0. Which means that A is going to equal 3, B is going to equal 11, and C is going to equal 10. So x is equal to the negative of bracket plus or minus the square root of bracket squared minus 4 bracket bracket, all divided by 2 bracket. Make sure you use the bracket so that your calculator can actually take care of the signs and multiplications and subtractions properly. And I'm going to substitute in my values. It goes B, B, A, C, A. This is going to give me, when I simplify the top left, negative 11. When I simplify the radicand, it's going to just give me 1. And on the bottom I have 6. Well, the nice thing here is that 1 is a perfect square, so I can actually just take the square root of that. X is going to equal negative 11 plus or minus 1 over 6. Now I have my two possibilities I'm going to solve. Either I'm going to be solving x is equal to negative 11 minus 1 over 6, which is going to, in turn, give me negative 5 over 3. I can say, plus 1. I can say that x is equal to negative 11 minus 1 over 6, and that's going to give me negative 2. So x is equal to either negative 5 over 3 or negative 2. Now, like I said, if you're simplifying and the radicand, when it's simplified, is a perfect square, you can actually just solve this. It just means that it's going to be a rational solution. For example C, well, first off, I don't like dealing with decimals because most people don't know what perfect square decimals are, like 0.04 or 0.25 or things like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by 10 to get rid of those decimals, and I'm going to move everything to the left-hand side. So this is actually going to be 22x squared plus 24x plus 1 is equal to 0. And I can say that A is going to equal 22, B is equal to 24, and C is equal to 1. Then I do the same process that I've done in the other cases. I'm going to say that x is equal to the negative of bracket plus or minus the square root of bracket squared minus 4 bracket bracket, all divided by 2 bracket. I'm going to substitute my numbers in. This is going to be 24, 24, 22, 1, and 22. I start to simplify. X is equal to negative 24 plus or minus the square root of 488 all over 44. Simplify the radical. X is equal to negative 24 plus or minus 2 root 122 over 44. And remember, when I am finding a common factor, I look at all three terms, and they have to be outside the radical. Don't include inside the radical. So these are all divisible by 2. So I'm going to say that x is equal to negative 12 plus or minus the square root of 122 over 22, and that's the simplest form. For example D, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this all out and move it all to one side of the equation and get d squared minus 7d plus 5 is equal to 0. Which means that my A value is 1, my B value is -7, and my C value is 5. So not x this time, D is equal to negative bracket plus or minus the square root of bracket squared minus 4 bracket bracket all divided by 2 bracket. I'm going to substitute my numbers in. -7 plus or minus -7 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5 all divided by 2 times 1. And this is going to give me D is equal to +7 plus or minus the square root of 29 over 2. In this case, I can't simplify the square root of 29, so I'm done. If I put it into a word problem, a picture measures 30 centimeters by 21 centimeters. I'm going to crop the picture by removing strips of the same width from the top and one side of the picture. So I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to cut this off. And this is going to be X, and this is going to be X amount. This reduces the area to 40% of the original area. Well, now this side length is going to be 30 minus X. And this side length is going to be 21 minus X. So if I'm reducing it to 40% of the original, then I'm going to say that the area, which is now going to be 30 times 21 times 40% or 0.4 is equal to my new side lengths. 30 minus X times 21 minus X. This means that 252 is going to equal x squared minus 51x plus 630. Or 0 is equal to x squared minus 51x plus 378. A is equal to 1, B is equal to -51, and C is equal to 378. So x is going to equal negative bracket plus or minus the square root of bracket squared minus, sorry, that's 51, minus 4 bracket bracket all divided by 2 bracket. Negative 51 plus or minus the square root of negative 51 squared minus 4 times 1 times 378 all divided by 2 times 1. X is equal to positive 51 plus or minus the square root of 1089 divided by 2, which would be the same as 51 plus or minus the square root of 1089 is going to be 33 over 2. So I have two possibilities. One is going to be x is equal to 51 plus 33 over 2, which would give me, in this case, 42. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I can't cut off more than what I had, which means that that can't be the correct answer. So I got to look at the other possibility. X is equal to 51 minus 33 over 2, and this gives me 9. This answer would make sense given my problem. So I can go back and write my answer. The width of the removed strip is 9 centimeters. For example 3, we have a rectangular piece of tin, 50 by 40, is made into a lidless box with a base area of 875 centimeters squared by cutting squares of equal size from the corners of all 4 corners and bending up the sides. Well, first I'm going to draw out what my original tin was. So I have my original piece of tin, and I got 50 by 40. Then from there, I cut out these squares. The side lengths of the squares are all going to be the same, so I'm going to call those side lengths X. And then I folded up the sides after I cut that out and have a base area in here of 875. Which means that the side lengths on the inside here is going to be 50 minus 2x, and here is going to be 40 minus 2x. So I can say that 875 is going to equal 50 minus 2x times 40 minus 2x. This means that 0 is going to equal 4x squared minus 180x plus 1,125. A is equal to 4, B is equal to negative 180, and C is equal to 1,125. Even though I'm dealing with bigger numbers, the process is still the same. X is going to equal the negative of a number plus or minus the square root of a number squared minus 4 times a number, all divided by 2 times a number. I'm going to substitute those numbers in, negative 180, 4, 1,125, and 4. And I get x is equal to 180 plus or minus the square root of 14,400, all divided by 8. And that's perfect square, 180 plus or minus 120 over 8. So now I got to solve for the two possibilities. Either it's going to be x is equal to 180 plus 120 over 8, which would give me 37.5. Well, I can't take that off of both sides from the 50 or the 40. It's too big. So I know that that's not my answer. So I look at the other possibility. X is equal to 180 minus 120 over 8. And this gives me 7.5, which makes sense. So the side length is 7.5 centimeters. If I'm determining the volume of the box, volume of any prism is base area times height, and the height that we created from the folded up sides is just going to be x, which means the volume is going to be 875 multiplied by 7.5, or 6,562.5 centimeters cubed.